So, my name is Christy Thompson. I am the marketing manager here at MVP, and we just wanted to say thank you so much for your time today and joining this webinar. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. We're going to try to take some questions throughout the presentation. So, if you have any, just pop them into the chat. Ikram and I will be monitoring that, and then we'll open it up at the end as well. So, today, we're talking about how to elevate team productivity in cybersecurity using the cloud. And let me introduce you to our host, Ikram Masabini. He is the CEO of MVP Network Consulting. He has a BS degree in electronic engineering. He's been in the IT world for over 25 years. He is a HIPAA consultant and auditor, IT security consultant, and he has multiple technical certifications. And there's his email. So if you have any questions, make sure to jot that down. It'll be at the very end as well, but he'll be able to answer those. And then Ikram has also written two books. So he has the Cybersecurity Essentials for Business Owners and Computers Should Just Work, right? So I'm going to pass this over to Ikram.
Thank you, Christy. Thanks, everybody, for your time. And let's get started. So today we're going to talk about, I'm going to start by talking about the cloud and what's happening. So if you're already there, we'll talk about that too. So are you ready for the cloud? I can tell you that everybody's using the cloud in some fashion, some sort of fashion. So what is happening? So really what I'm trying to talk about first is a network design. There's a million ways to slice that pizza. It could be squares, it could be regular rectangles. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I do mean that, all right, let's think of it that way from a network design. The traditional network was an on-premise network where you have your servers, you have a firewall, a switch, and then all your servers are connected to it, and you maintained everything, and all your computers are connected to it. And then every few years, you have to replace all the hardware on the servers because they're getting old. And that was just the way we did business. And we had to secure our own network with our own firewalls and what have you. We still have to secure our networks, but where is all that hardware? And that's usually a lot of hardware to go through. Look at that list I have. So little by little, things kind of evolved and data centers became more prevalent. And we started putting more servers and more desktops in data centers because they have better cooling, because they have better connectivity, because they have an engineer on staff that looks at everything, make sure everything's working. But you had to reach that data center somehow, and usually through either a VPN connection or through the web or different ways to do it. At the end of the day, that was private cloud. Now comes the hybrid environment that we all live in now, which I'll call some public cloud, which is like the Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services or the Google Cloud Platform or other cloud service providers like us or others. And a hybrid cloud, meaning that you still have a server or something on-premise at your office or in a data center that you're leasing space in and putting a server there. And you're using them all together between stuff that you own that's on-prem and then stuff that's in the cloud, like your email. Now, your email is web-based, right? So that's cloud-based and it's driven that way. The last step here is what I call a full cloud. Basically, it's taking all that stuff, including your desktop. So now I was talking about servers and moving those to the data center. But what if we also moved your desktop? In other words, your Windows application that you log into and put all that in the same environment, in the same data center. And when you come into work, you basically log into your desktop. And that's very helpful because it doesn't then matter which device you have. If your laptop that you're used to and has data on it or what have you is no longer available, well, guess what? It doesn't matter. Grab anything else, it will work. You grab your iPhone, you can grab your iPad, you can grab a Google Chromebook with a full cloud environment. Your desktop is in the cloud. So from the desktop on, where all your applications are loaded and all the servers, everything works faster and it's all hosted somewhere else. But is that needed for everybody? It's helpful, especially if you use applications that are thick applications that require a lot of bandwidth to work. So that means your desktop is right next to your server that you're using. Because really, at the end of the day, the cloud is changing the way that we work. I'm talking about network design altogether. How are we going to slice that pizza? Is it going to be squares? Are we going to be traditional and go one byte, everybody knows the rules, and go triangle. It all depends. So how is the cloud really changing the way that we work? It's the way that we design network, but in different ways. So number one, easy deployment. So if you're in a cloud environment, because it's all virtualized, you only pay for what you use. If you need additional desktops, it's just a couple of clicks. You need another server, you don't have to buy anything else. You just pay for the CPU and RAM that you're using. So that's one way to do it, because you now no longer are responsible for hardware in your office. You're leasing all of it and using it all and securing it as well. The next one is built-in redundancy, right? With built-in redundancy, meaning that because it's in a data center, it has backup internet, it has backup power with a generator, it has the correct cooling, it has multiple servers backing each other up for easy disaster recovery. Hot. If the server goes down, it automatically goes to a server that's up and continue to work without interruption in business. Then enhanced collaboration. I'm going to show you guys a demo on this, on what that means, but it really means seamlessly work together from any location in the same exact way. So that you can't tell me, well, when I'm at home, I work this way and that's how I get my files. But when I go in the office, then I work that way and that's how I get my files. And then when I come to share files, it depends on where I am. And if I want to work at home, I sometimes email myself the files. No, we don't want any of that. I'm here to show you a better way to do it. I'm going to do a small demo after this, and I'm going to show you what I mean by enhanced collaboration, down to working on the same file with multiple people at the same time and being able to see their changes in real time. Whoop, went backwards a little bit. Next is increased versatility, because you're able to expand and retract the amount of resources that you're using. You're only paying for what you use. Employees have access from anywhere, anytime, the same exact way every single time. And then productivity turns up because it simplifies the workflows, because you now don't have to think about how you're going to work. You decided the best way to network design your environment, and that's how you do it. So I'm here to show you how we can network design and change the way that you work into a multitude of different ways for that fits your business better. So if you're ready to increase productivity and turn up the dial on productivity, I'm going to show you certain ways to do it. And I hope you're ready for this. I'll start by a deep dive demo into Microsoft 365, and I'll tell you what I mean by that and what we're going to do. So right now I'm sharing the screen. I'm going to stop the presentation real quick, and I'm going to, this is an empty desktop. We'll start with how you work traditionally. Traditionally, you would work through files that are connected to your network. You'd have network maps like this that you reach. And if you're home and you want to use them, you would have to connect to a VPN connection. So first you connect to the VPN. Once you're connected to the VPN, then these map drive would work. It works, but it doesn't work for everything. What ends up happening here is for Word, Excel, PDF, PowerPoint, that will work fine. But if you have applications like QuickBooks or a thick application, well, that's not going to work for you. You may need a terminal server above and beyond all that. You may need a different way to perform. All right, so what other options do we have? Well, the second options we have is a capability to log in to what I call an RD web. We take the applications that you use the most. You're still using your local desktop, right? So I'm still using the desktop that I'm on, if you guys see that screen. And I logged into this website, and I can load my applications, including QuickBooks, that's a thick application, or Word, Excel, or any other application I'm using, and able to use it and without having to log into VPN. So step one, you could log into VPN and reach the files, because you have a server you have to connect to. Step two, we're still using a local desktop, but I don't have to log into VPN to use it. I can use remote desktop web, which means I will publish those applications for you to use them, including all the files, the S drive, all the files that you may need, so you could use them from there. And that's a handy way to do it, because also if you're using Microsoft 365, and let me move this to you guys here, and this is our teams, and here's sales and marketing, and here's the files that I'm using. It gives you a lot more capability. I don't have to VPN in if I'm going to use Teams and SharePoint to share files. And here I can click on any of these files and view the file, read the file, and have other people use the file at the same time, and we can make the changes at the same time we are working and come back to it without having to VPN in first. So 3 different things so far. 1, you VPN in and you reach your files. 2, we can publish all the apps for you, and that way you don't have to use VPN, and you could then use the applications, but you're still using your local desktop, and put all your files in Teams and SharePoint. That way you could use them and use the power of Teams with collaboration, with posts, with communication between your team. Your team now can communicate. So I'm going to give you examples. Here's our sales and marketing piece. Well, we're talking about different things in sales and marketing. We're keeping each other in the loop. We're communicating with each other, and we have all our files here. That works the same way a traditional map drive would work, except it's available for you from any device at any time. And the last piece I'm going to show you is what I called full cloud. And with full cloud, I would go to an application like this one. And then I would say is, let me double click on this icon. And once I do that, it's going to log me into a full desktop. And I'll be able to use the desktop like I usually would. And you see the desktop here. It should be loading for me. I'm going to bring it here. And then I use it as my regular desktop. I have 2 monitors. Both monitors will show up. You can see what's on my other monitor now. You see what's happening? Now think about this. Think about the capability of being able to log into your desktop from anywhere that you may be without having to worry about, how am I going to log in? How am I going to reach that file? Am I going to VPN first? Am I going to go to this website where I publish apps? And all those solutions are secure, and it depends on your use and how you work. This is why consulting is important, to come in and ask you the right questions and see what works best for you. If you have a lot of people all over the country or salespeople that work from home a lot, a full cloud may be the best solutions for you. But if you don't have that and everybody comes into the office in your manufacturing facility, well, maybe that's not the best solution for you. Maybe then a traditional network, that maybe not even on your on-prem, but in a data center that's managed, a private cloud may be the best solution for you. And we'll be able to help you assess what best for you solution is. So let's go back to my presentation here. And let me talk to you about certain things that are important to understand, right? I'll start with, let's grab something to write. I'm going to drop some knowledge, and let's go from here. So first thing, I'm going to give you 20 questions that could save your business. These questions are to help you think about what I just showed you, but also to help dive deeper into cybersecurity and make sure that you have what you need to make your network, whether being on-prem or in a data center or full public cloud or full cloud, secure. So these are 20 important questions I'll go through. Number 1, does your company utilize multi-factor authentication? So MFA obviously is the way that you get a code on your phone to enter the code. It's important to have that turned on for everything, especially for banking or email. That way, even if your password was found in a hack, they still can get access because you're closing that door and asking them to enter a code that changes every 20 seconds on your mobile device. So number 1, make sure you have that. Question number 2, make sure you have a strong password policy and controls in place, something that changes regularly. Make sure your password is more, I like to call it a passphrase, more than a password. Make it sure that it's more than 16 characters long. It's a lot harder to crack then. I like to go to the beach on a sunny day. That's a good password, even though it doesn't have a lot of different characters or what have you. The longer it is, the better it is. So a strong password policy includes requirements on length, is key to making sure that your password doesn't get hacked easily. Number 3, how does your company install software security updates? Do you know that they're getting done? Are you testing them? The security community is constantly discovering vulnerabilities. That's what's happening. Vulnerabilities come up on a daily basis. And popular software products, which then publicly announced a common vulnerabilities, and they call it CVEs, common vulnerability exposure. So that software companies are constantly issuing security patches, and somebody has to come in and install those security patches for you. How is that getting done? Is it manual? You have to rely on one person? Is it automated? And after it's been tested and the security patches gets installed. So that's an important thing to know, because you need to make sure that your security patches are up to snuff. Number 4, how are access privileges revoked from terminated employees? We go into networks and we're like, oh, you have 70 employees. No, we only have 35. Well, these are old employees, but their network, their access is still available. We didn't do anything with their data. It's still there where you always had it. You may have moved some files to somebody else, but that's about it. But the actual account is still valid. And that, since that account is not being used and you're logging into, and nobody's logging into that account, that password never changes and it becomes a problem. It becomes a big vulnerability for you. That's one piece. The other piece, you got to trust the employee that you terminated to not log back in and try to get some of your data and use it against you. So your current employees have lots of access of your data. So when you terminate one, it's important to revoke all those privileges. This is especially true in the case of disgruntled employees who may want to harm you. So how do you do that? And do you make sure that everything that they had access to is no longer available? Number 5, how does your company train users to resist phishing attacks? 95% of all attacks happen through email, through phishing. Somebody clicked on something they're not supposed to click. Really, that's what happens. And they don't know they clicked on it. It happens in the background. Cyber criminals commonly penetrate organizations' cyber defenses by tricking users with fake emails. They look pretty real. They trick everybody. One of the most important ways you can protect is to really train your employees. And if you're working with us and we're your MSP or managed service provider, we do your IT, we provide training for free in a portal that you log into, because that's how important it is. If we can teach you be a better users of the internet, you'll just be better at recognizing what you should click on and what you shouldn't click on. So please take the training. Number 6, how does your company detect and stop digital intruders? So getting hacked or phished doesn't have to spell disaster for your company, right? If it's done right. If you can detect any malicious activity inside your network before the invader can reach your most valuable data on your system. So they're in there and they're doing something, but they didn't finish what they're doing. Can we detect that they're doing something and stop them before they cause harm? That's what some of the security tools are doing. They're hunting for issues. They're stopping things midstream. What kind of tools do you have? Do you have a full stack? Our standard stack is a solid firewall and a solid antivirus, but we take it a step above. We don't only put an antivirus, we put an EDR, an endpoint detection and response, something that takes action and helps secure your environment. But above and beyond that, you can upgrade to an MDR, which is a managed detection and response that does hunting capabilities and has our SOC looking at everything within 15 minutes. You could add a SIM to it. You could add an application allow listing. There's additional tools to make you more secure depending on the data that you have. Is it encrypted? Is it local? Is it on a cloud environment? Securing your cloud is just like securing your local environment. You're responsible for it. Number 7, does your company segment administrative privileges? That's something we see all the time. And it's easy for an IT guy to say, well, I'm going to give you admin rights. That way you don't have any issues working on the network. But that's not the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to give the right rights to the right people. The administrator of your IT systems have the most far-reaching privileges in your organization. And they need those privileges to perform their daily tasks and technical tasks. But if a hacker gets a hold of those sysadmins, and they do eventually, they can do virtually unlimited damage to your network. We've seen environments where hackers got in, were in the environment for 3 months before taking action, down to figuring out how to log into their backup environment, delete their backups first before they took actions. It's important to know that the right rights are given to the right people. Number 8, and Sean, I see your question. I'll get back to it in a second. How do you make sure your firewall is optimally configured? That's a good question. Your firewall is a key component of your cyber defense, ideally capable of blocking any unauthorized network traffic while not blocking any traffic that your internal people need to be productive. And it's not easy to configure, but it's important to configure it right. So there's things like IPS, intrusion prevention system, or DPI, deep packet inspection, that needs to be turned on the firewall. The firewall needs to be sized properly, because even though the firewall may handle the internet speed that you're bringing it, if we're adding all these things to it, the firewall needs to be able to handle that. So to achieve that balance, any hackers will take advantage of any gaps in your firewall protection. So smart companies regularly test their firewalls from the outside by doing penetration testing or mini pen tests, and we provide that, which will be our offer at the end of this. I'm going to send you a link. You click on it. I'll tell you if your firewall works well or not. And gaps, and that allows us to get gaps in and fix them before any bad guys has access to it. Sean, I'll go to your question right now. Do you get more storage space with your remote desktop in addition to SharePoint? Yes, you can buy as much storage space as you want, and you do get more storage space because you get a terabyte per user. So all these are combined together for you to be able to use it through SharePoint if you have the right license. And then we can get into that in more detail. Number 9, are you optimizing your risk profile for cyber insurance? Now, everybody should have cyber insurance. Please do. Go get cyber insurance. It's important because one hack will pay for anything that you paid for in cyber insurance and then some. Cyber insurance provides vital financial protection from consequences of a cyber attack or other technology-related business interruptions. So due to losses, insurers are adopting increasingly stringent underwriting policies. A year ago, anybody can get cyber insurance by telling the insurance provider how many users you have. Nowadays, they send you an Excel spreadsheet. You have to fill out all kinds of information. They want to make sure you have MFA, multi-factor authentication. They want to make sure you have the right antivirus or an EDR or even an MDR. And when you have those tools, your premiums are cheaper because you're not as at risk as if you don't have those tools. As a matter of fact, if you don't have MFA right now, you don't even get approved for cyber insurance. And then what's your company's backup plan? Now, your backup files can be your last line of defense. You got hacked, they're all encrypted, and hopefully the backup is off-prem, not touched by your network, and it's consistently being updated. And if that happened, okay, then we know that we can restore you back to where you were. But it's not enough to just have a copy of your files. You must ensure that you could actually restore all those files successfully to production readiness. In other words, it's your files, it's your applications, it's your operating system, it's everything that you use. You must make sure you're backing up those files you need as often as you need them to. And you must make sure that hackers can't get access to your backup files. So I look at, and we can discuss backup in more detail, but I look at it as it's a last line of defense. Make sure it's not part of your network, but it does get, all your data gets pushed to it as soon as possible. Number 11, do you subject your vendors to cybersecurity requirements? A lot of vendors that we work with, well, they say, well, we're secure. Well, actually, my data is with my vendor. I'm good. They're responsible for it. How do you know they are? Once cyber attacks succeed in compromising one organization, they often use that beachhead to launch attacks on other adjacent organizations. So if you got hacked, your clients will be next. Or if they got hacked or your vendor got hacked, you may be next. They will jump off from their network to yours, especially if you're working with a network that has VPN connectivity with you because they do billing or whatever they may be doing for you. Well, if you're allowing them to log in, you got to make sure they're secure too. And you got to make sure you have a business associate agreement with them. And then you're hold them at a level of requirements that you're holding yourself to. So it's important to know what they do for you. Vendor management important. Obviously, if you work with us, we can help you with all that. 12, how are you securing your use of the cloud? So we talked about the cloud and how powerful the cloud can be and how you can use it to really get teams to work together seamlessly and for you to work the same way, whether you're at the office or not. So how are you securing those your use of the cloud? So cloud-based application and services offer a compelling value by allowing your organization to acquire new digital capabilities without the additional capital and operational expenses associated with deploying more IT infrastructure internally, right? We're saying we don't want any more servers internally. We want to be able to be in a data center where the servers are always available, more secure. We don't want to pay as much, but we also want to secure it. So your cloud providers are not responsible for security of your cloud data. They're responsible for the hardware and hosting it and making it sure it's available. You're responsible adding the security tools on your cloud environment that you're using. I'm going to say it again. You're responsible for securing the clouds that you use, whether it being a public cloud like Microsoft. It comes vanilla. You have to add security tools to it. It depends on the data that you have in it. Number 13. I hope you guys are finding these helpful because it took us a while to put them together, but I really think that it's the key questions to ask yourself. How are you managing your physical security? And that's important if you're in manufacturing or if you're in healthcare. You have patients coming in. It's physical security. They're walking through your facility. Cybersecurity isn't just about keeping criminals from hacking you over the internet. It's also about keeping them from getting to your sensitive data and critical system by more ordinary means, such as a simple sticking a thumb drive into an open USB port. They may walk in your environment with their own USB port and go to your front desk and try to stick it somewhere. Some just leave it on the floor and wait for one of your employees to come in and find it and say, oh my goodness, a USB stick. Score, let me see what's in it. It's 64 gig, let me use it. And stick it into your machine, and now you're infected. So it's important to know that to maintain this physical security, you must control physical access with the same rigor you do on the digital side. Just make sure people just can't walk to your facility without knowing what they're doing, how they're doing it. Number 14, do your employees email sensitive information in the clear? You know what I mean? Do you send information to a patient, or do you send information to another provider asking them questions about a patient? Business email compromise, BEC, is a common occurrence, which is it's just one reason that your employees should never transmit sensitive data such as social security numbers, banking information as plain text in their unencrypted email. Make sure that you have encryption on your email. I guess that's what I'm saying here. Make sure you're backing up your entire M365 platform, because if you're going to use email and you're going to put your files in M365 and SharePoint or Teams or what have you, you want to make sure that all that is backed up. Microsoft does not back them up. Microsoft just has them redundant. But if they have an issue and you need to restore your data, they're going to say, hey, by the way, we had an issue, go restore your data. They're relying on your backup. So remember that. If you're using that to have backup, make sure you have backup on everything that you're using. So organizations can prevent this from happening by implementing a number of measures that include employee training, email encryption, DLP, and backup, of course. Number 15, how does your company address cyber compliance mandates? Let's say you're in healthcare and HIPAA. You're in financial and you need to PCI and or you want to be high trust certified. Or what about if you're a manufacturing, you need to be CMMC, all those frameworks, how are you addressing them? Some people don't have to adhere to a framework, but they want to at least reach the minimum framework, which is NIST. They want to reach that framework. They want to reach that level of compliance because they want their data secure. Just about every company is subject to a regulatory mandate regarding to the way it manages data. For companies that handle credit cards, that's mandated as PCI. Healthcare, it's HIPAA. Financial, you have SEC, FTC guidelines. Compliance with these mandates requires that companies implement specific types of cyber controls. Even if you don't want to be compliant, if you don't have to be compliant with them, you may want to look at them and implement them. It's just going to make your network more secure. Number 16, have you implemented special protection for special data? Let's read that again. Implemented special protections for special data, because not all data is created equal. Your social security numbers are worth a lot more than just a letter saying hello to somebody. Every bit of bits and bytes in every computer in your organization and every application you use in the cloud is data. But not all data is created equal. Announcing your next company picnic is not the same kind as an HR file where everybody's employee social security is. I just said, and banking instruction. So an effective risk to mitigate strategy treats each of these data types appropriately in terms of access control, encryption, backup, cyber insurance measures. Where is that data? Who's got access to it? Did we review every single user that you have internally and make sure they have the correct rights? They don't have rights to log into it. Are we changing the password properly? Are we securing what you have? Are we backing up sensitive data more often than not? Have you implemented special protections? Do you know where your special data is? Test for that. Let's go find it for you. Let us run a scan and let you know where your special data is. Let me help you secure your environment. Number 17, how do you secure remote work or work from home employees? So organizations increasingly depend on remote workers. We're, I'd say, 60% remote. We're trying to bring more people back to make it fun here so that we could work together. But a lot of our employees are remote. And this is very important because sometimes they may want to use their cloud desktop. Great. But what if you don't have that? You give them just a laptop. What if they want to use their home laptop? Now, is their network infecting your business? Yes. So organization increasingly depend on remote workers. Some of those remote workers are salespeople, field service workers, and other road warriors who need to stay productive wherever they may be. Others are the new generation of work from home workers who only come into the office when they need to. Any organization seeking to attract the best talent and to keep that talent productive, even in extreme weather or natural disasters, you must have safety-enabled remote work, and we can show you what it is and how we can secure their networks so that it doesn't affect yours. I want you to think about it, though. Do you know what their networks at home look like? Do you know if their kid is online downloading torrent from stuff from the internet? Do you know what they're doing online? You don't, and you don't want it to affect you. Number 18, do you have an incident response plan? And that's key. What's going to happen if? You should run through an exercise, a tabletop exercise. All right, guys, let's pretend our network is down. What do we do now? Who are you going to call first? What are they going to do? How long can we afford to be down before it starts affecting us negatively? Despite all the precautions, your organization may still be hit by a ransomware or other type of attack. Doesn't matter. No network is 100% compliant. Now, we want to be not the low-hanging fruit. We want to be high up on the tree and make it difficult, but somebody may reach you eventually. And if they do, what are you going to do? But you could still significantly reduce the short and long-term impact of those incidents by responding quickly and decisively because you have a plan that you've written and you know what to do. So please do that, and we'll help you create that. If you need to, please talk to your account manager, your PSM. And do you have somebody that manages security altogether? Do you have a chief security officer? Effective cyber risk management requires more than just installing some security tools. It requires strategic leadership to ensure that your security budget is being allocated wisely. You should think of it that way. That technology-related risks are proactively factored into executives' business decisions. Every time you make a decision, you gotta pass it through security first. Wait, is that going to cause me an issue if I work with this vendor because they want access to everything that I have? Is that vendor secure enough? Is that going to cause me issues if I do this on the network locally? You got to think about all that. But you have to have a chief security officer that will think that for you. And we obviously provide that for our partners that are doing security with us. So it's important to know. And your organization's security and cyber compliance posture is just a subject to the discipline and accountability needed for continuous improvements. It's not set it and forget it. What kind of scans do you run? How often do you run them? What happens when you run the scan? All that is part of the chief security officer's job. And then last but not least, number 20, how does your company view security and cyber compliance? You know, I wanted to put this in that to discuss this in more detail. I mean, do you see it as a hindrance? Do you see it as something that you need to do? Are you doing the bare minimum? Is there more? Do you not know everything that you need to do? How are you handling it? You know, cyber compliance are essential to an organization's performance as its humans capital. I think of it at the same regards as your actual employees. It's an intellectual property that we're trying to secure. It's a go-to-market strategy. It is it's financial management to secure you properly. It's when you go to somebody that a potential client and you tell them, we take security very seriously. And this is everything that we do. This is our chief security officer company. This is what they do for us. How does your company view security? And if you have more questions about that and you don't know how to proceed, please call us and we'll let you know. So I'll go to this. We're not done. I'm going to tell you what we could do. It's important to understand, whoops. Have you reviewed your security? Have you ran a test? And it's important to run those tests because it shows us where the holes may be. Because you don't want to gamble with your data. Your data is too important. You got to know your risks. Where is your data and what is the risks on your network? Because how is your network designed? The way you protect a network, it depends on how it's designed. There's too much to lose. So we're offering a third-party network security evaluation. Here's a QR code. Please scan it now. I'm going to have it again. Or go to mvpworks.com/cyber, and we'll send you a link. And that link, you'll click on it. You'll send it to 5, 7, 10, everybody in your company, depending on who you want to share it with. I always recommend somebody that has access to HR, somebody that has access to financials, somebody that is working from home, remote users, your sales warriors, your CEO, and then anybody else that you want to include. You include those people, and then let us run a scan. And what it does is I won't need any admin credentials. We're pretending to be a hack here. We won't install anything on the network. All we're going to do is send you a link. They're going to click on it and click, and then send you a link. You send it to 5 key users or more. You click run, and it runs in the background, and we'll provide you a report and let you know. We'll send in English, in plain English, we'll let you know where the holes are. Were we able to crack your passwords? Can I give you your banking information? Can I get your social security numbers off your network? How deep can I get onto your network, and what kind of data can I get out of it? Let's test that for you. Then we'll sit down with you, review the results in plain English, and finally we'll give you some steps that you should take to protect your environment. All right, I'm 9 minutes over. I'm sorry, everybody. Thanks for sticking with me. Hope you found it beneficial. Here is the link again, if you need it. And if I have any other questions, please let me know. This is recorded, so we'll be posting this starting tomorrow. We'll be sending it to everybody that has registered but didn't join, and everybody that did join. Appreciate your time today. Hope you find it beneficial. I try to make these as educational as possible, and we're going to stay on it. Dominic, good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us. Doug, Sean, and everybody else that joined. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and let's continue to protect our environments.